Look, if we're just gonna use fascist toward anyone we dislike, all right, then the word doesn't actually mean anything.
Okay, what do you want me to say, Anna?
If you cannot call Trump a fascist, there is no reason to use the word.
Calling him a fascist is not a insane thing to say, right? It's really not. I mean, come on. We're not calling everyone a fascist now. People are calling Anna a fascist now. I think, you know what I think it is? I think she's deflecting. I think a lot of people on the left hate her. They're saying all this mean shit. They're saying, oh, she's a fascist, she's a grifter. And it's like, well, yeah, people are calling you that because you're giving them a reason to call you that. Maybe stop being so Republican in your fucking reporting when it comes to certain stories and people won't call you that. It's not that fucking hard. Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ariana Jasmine and today we're going to be talking about TYT and their crash out because they have been crashing out, specifically on Twitter and other places. But anyways, let's get into it. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment at the time that I'm recording this video. I have less than 1,000 more subscribers to get to 10K, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me make my dreams come true. Okay, let's get into it. Cenk screaming about empathy for 76,000 dead from no health insurance hits different when you worked at his company and had to start a union to try to get health insurance. And when you learn TYT is ran by a former health insurance executive, according to LinkedIn. So I guess Jack Gerard is who's running the TYT, which is a former healthcare executive. And that tells you everything you need to know. You know what I mean? That really does.
So we're all mad at, now I'm worked up. Now we're mad at Taylor Lorenz, we're mad at Haas, we're mad at all these other people for not having appropriate empathy or whatever the hell for United Healthcare CEO. I have the empathy, but where's your goddamn empathy for the 76,000 dead? Where is it, huh? I don't see any of it. Is anybody on TV crying? All the multi-millionaire anchors? Oh my God, so your parents might die because they have cancer or this and they got denied coverage. They don't give a damn about the average person.
This person is alleging that they worked at TYT and they're alleging that they had to form or fight for a union in order to get some sort of health insurance. If that is true, you can't cry about politicians not caring about people get insured when your own company wasn't giving people insurance. You know what I mean? That's a little hypocritical. For the first 7 months, I was an independent contractor, green highlights in that video, and after asking for help, Cenk changed my classification to part-time temporary despite me working 40 hours a week, still no benefits. We unionized in part to stop this barbaric practice. After 12 months of full-time work alongside people doing the exact same job who were classified as full-time regular employees who got benefits, I was hired for a third time and finally granted nearly full benefits. But Cenk told his audience his political foes started the union. So spare me this performative outrage in this clip where he screams about empathy and about people dying from lack of health care. The dude doesn't give a shit if I was fed to a meat grinder. I was a paying fan starting 2009, started working at TYT in 2013. What happened at TYT is a story that needs to be told, especially because Cenk doesn't want it known. It captures every facet of the labor movement and fight for workplace dignity in all modes of employment. My hope is that Tell the Truth Cenk becomes an educational source. Yeah, that's sad. TYT claiming leftists love criminals unless they are white is particularly insane given that they were just scolding the left for their reaction to Luigi Mangione. Wait, what's happening here? Anti-white racism. I thought Anna and Cenk were eventually going to realize how they plagiarized the Fox News and come to their senses. Nope. TYT saying leftists love criminals unless they are white is unoriginal and a racist talking point right wing used to defend racist vigilantes.
Happy with me and everyone will hear exactly what they want to hear. Criminals are great. I love criminals. We should let all of them out of prison and we should, allow them to terrorize working class people when they're trying to get to work. And that's actually going to make everybody's lives better. So
yeah, and let me do the other half.
If that's going to make everyone happy, then fine. Okay, I give up. I give up. Okay, criminals are great unless they're white. If they're white, we should put them in prison for the rest of their lives.
Oh my God, if they're right wing, life sentence. Okay, anyways.
Oh my God, we're not saying all criminals should just be let free and if they're white, they get a life sentence. That's not what we're saying. We believe in rehabilitation. We believe in not resorting to mass incarceration and actually putting in funding into rehabilitating people, which is actually not that crazy of a concept because when you look at countries that are comparable to America, like Sweden or Austria, they have rehabilitative programs. Or Portugal, they were able to reverse their opioid epidemic because of their rehabilitative programs and how much money they spent on the people rather than the police. But, people like these two are head over heels for policing. If you watch any true crime documentary about a crime that happened in America, you would understand how absolutely useless these cops are. Cops in America are fucking useless, bro. And it's so easy to just say, oh, well, if you're white, you get a death sentence. That's not what people are saying. I have given a lot of people opportunities opportunities at TYT, some have turned around and attacked me with absolutely no gratitude or decency. And every time they claim to be moral ones as they throw their friends under a bus for their own careers. But I'm not going to stop giving people a chance. I'm not going to be the closed-minded person they want me to be. At the Young Turks, we will always be open minds and open hearts. Except for your employees forming a union, LOL. This is a part of what I'm talking about. We have a union at TYT. It's AITSE, and we have had 2 very amicable negotiations and have had a great relationship with them. But so many people think we busted the union because people who worked here just brazenly lie about it. To be honest, I guess this is all alleged on both sides, right? Like, we don't know what actually happened there, but what do people have to gain from coming out and saying that they're anti-union or anti-giving people health insurance, other than throwing yourself under the bus and getting Chanked to publicly attack you? Hell yeah, let's get into it. How much of TYT's membership dues have gone towards returning this guy's investment instead of to TYT employees who have better politics than most hosts? Jeffrey Katzenberg's Wonder Co. invests in TYT Network as a part of a $20 million round. Now, from my understanding is that it seems like he owns DreamWorks Animation. But you know, this is still a huge investment from a big billionaire. You know what I mean? And with big billionaire investment comes big billionaire expectations. So anyways, Emma basically backs up all of the union busting claims in this tweet. And then Anna obviously was not happy. She said, "Yet another sign of a pathetic dishonesty. Emma was employed by TYT when the company announced recognition of its union. These cheap shots to make herself look like a class warrior crack me up, especially when she advocates that we all shut the fuck up and take when someone assaults us in public transportation. Not wanting to get punched in the face is bougie concern after all." Emma says, "Unclear what this means. I'm a member of a union. If that's a shot at my upbringing, I'll let the work speak for itself. The TYT NLRB complaint is public. I've tried to keep our differences professional. I loved you as a friend. At one point, I'm sorry you've gone down this road." No, you didn't try to keep shit professional, Emma. You've been mocking me, especially, and running your mouth for a year. Your regression into cheering on crime, in addition to identitarian streak, is grotesque. Okay. Concerned with promoting interests of one's cultural group. No, I was confused about this because, like, I don't really understand how identitarian goes into this statement, because she's a white girl. I'm not entirely sure what she's trying to promote that's cultural. Anyways, so this is a very public complaint that claims that TYT, with the allegations of concerted activities including retaliation, discharge, and discipline. NLRB dockets show that Chank has hired a management side lawyer whose career is specifically tailored towards fighting labor unions in the entertainment industry. So this person's resume successfully defended a network-owned major profile wrongfully discharged arbitration claim, successfully defended a major advertiser against SAG-AFTRA. So these claims that TYT is union busting and or not entirely friendly towards union, they're public. This is public information, and it's not that hard to find. Then Christina says, haha, you can't watch both TYT and Majority Report. TYT has regressed. If you don't know who Christina is, she's a streamer. She's more of a smaller content creator, but she streams, and she also used to be very close with Anna. They used to talk on a regular basis, from my understanding. Then Anna says, you sure were a sweetheart when you were asking me for money. So just to give you a little bit of backstory, I've known Christina for years now, and I've followed her on social media for years now, and she does regularly try to crowdsource money so that she can help herself and her family out. So this is a very classist cheap shot, in my opinion, because you're kind of bringing down your friendship to just, you asked me for money, which isn't entirely true, because her and Anna actually used to be friends. They used to talk on a regular basis. So it's a very particular cheap shot, and obviously, first of all, this ratio is embarrassing because Christina got 1K likes and she got 400 likes, which I think shows you what the public regard to her response to that was. But it's just one of those things where it was a very classist cheap shot, and a lot of people were not happy with it. Might as well take that job at Daily Wire. You are done. This is gross. Who could have known the right-wing grifter was also a shitty human being? You truly are a graceless specimen. TYT turning into a conservative outlet. It just didn't really go that well for her. Which, listen, if Anna is annoyed by Christina Christina because Christina talks a lot of shit about Anna now on Twitter. Like, I get it. I'm trying to be like as understanding of all sides, I guess, in this scenario, but to make such a classist cheap shot publicly, I don't want to say it's humiliating because I'd hope that Christina didn't feel humiliated by this because, you know, I've definitely been in situations where I was really struggling with money, so I totally get it. I get the struggle, but I think Anna's goal with this was to humiliate Christina. And for me, that shows me what kind of personality you are, because if someone goes in confidence and asks you, hey, can I please have some money? I'm struggling this month, and you blast it on your Twitter where you have 600,000 followers, you're not a good person. I don't care how annoyed you are. If you're annoyed, you can talk to them in private, or you can respond publicly in a less classist way. It's in real bad taste. I agree. It's in really bad taste.
All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk Ugran and Kasparian, all back in the studio here, PolyMarket Studios in LA.
Thoughts and prayers.
Look, the last thing is about Peter Thiel. So apparently he put money into PolyMarket, right? So that people are holding that against us. Now, I didn't know that when we did the deal, but doesn't matter. I'm gonna say something revolutionary. No, it doesn't matter. Why? Okay, Peter Thiel also financed PayPal. Did anybody ever use PayPal? If you did, guilty. Okay, hold on. Okay, Peter Thiel also financed Facebook. Did anybody ever use Facebook? I know Emma did, because she used to make videos for us on Facebook. Emma, I can't believe you work with Peter Thiel. And Peter Thiel funded organization Facebook. Hey, give me all that money back from all of your videos on Facebook, because Peter Thiel financed Facebook. You gonna do that? No, you're not gonna do that, right? So it's just a piece of propaganda that they're using against us.
I don't give a shit, okay? I don't care at all. I'm here, I'm speaking my truth.
You know what argument this reminds me of? You hate capitalism and yet you have an iPhone, you have a laptop, but you hate capitalism? This is what this argument is giving. It's giving, oh, you use Facebook, therefore I can take money from a cryptocurrency company that does gambling off of politics. It's like the logic is not logicking. The plot is lost on me because this is just not, it's not a logical listen. If you take money from PolyMarket, which is a cryptocurrency company that makes money off of gambling based on politics, which is my understanding of that company, you are fundamentally making money off of something that many progressives don't agree with. You're claiming that you're a progressive network and yet you're taking money from a crypto company. That is weird. We have a right to find that weird. So I have this video essay. We're not going to watch through all of the video essay, but I think it's still worth kind of watching through a little bit of it just to see what they have to say.
A viral video made the rounds of a group of armed men breaking into an apartment complex in Aurora, Colorado. It was claimed that these men were a part of the Tren de Aragua gang from Venezuela. Right-wing media in particular used this story to emphasize the danger of immigration from the southern border. This was very quickly exploited by Donald Trump during his campaign when he would claim that Aurora had been taken over by violent gangs.
We settled beautifully into your community to prey upon innocent American citizens. That's what they're doing.
The real story isn't quite so sensational, but that's to be expected when it comes to right-wing media. What was more disappointing to me was watching some media outlets, claiming to be on the left, repeating this story without important additional context. I wanted to focus on this story specifically because, as was seen a month later, they released a second video doubling down on their original commentary and once again carrying water for what I would ultimately learn was a cynical PR campaign. Also, as a note before we begin, since this story has had numerous developments since with lots of contradictory information coming out, I wanted to be careful to cite sources that would have been publicly available before this video was originally published on the main TYT channel. I really want to focus on the video titled, Venezuelan Gang Takes Over an Apartment Complex. Or did they? Which did a terrible job of describing this story.
You're watching footage from last August featuring members.
This was very particularly disappointing because this whole Venezuelan gang story ended up being a complete sham. And after the Venezuelan gang story didn't necessarily hold up, then they started saying that Haitian immigrants are eating the cats and dogs. So if you're going to be talking about, oh, Venezuelan gangs are taking over Colorado, I think you really need to check your sources and make sure you're actually telling a true story story, because then you run the risk of really spreading misinformation and disinformation and hurting different communities of people, especially in Colorado. But instead, they did what the right-wing people do, and they just kind of ran the story, which sure, it's great for clicks and views. It's clickbaity enough to get people interested to click on your video, but are you truly carrying yourself as a leftist and moral and ethical news station? You're not. You're doing what Fox News does. That's why I think a lot of people were angry at it.
Of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua breaking into an apartment unit in Aurora, Colorado.
10 seconds in, and we already have a noteworthy mistake. The men in this video, at the time of this video's upload, had not been identified. Although they would be identified a few weeks later, the police were reluctant to assign any kind of gang affiliation to them, never mind saying they were part of Tren de Aragua. Considering how this story is being used to fuel anti-immigrant rhetoric, claiming these men to be migrants, specifically criminal ones in a gang, before they have actually been identified, seems to me irresponsible. But whether or not there's gang violence in Aurora isn't really the problem I have with this video. The real problem is that there is a much deeper context that's not really being acknowledged here. To really understand where this story came from and why it became such high-profile news, we have to go back a little bit before this video made an appearance. Before I start the story, I do have to establish who the players are in all of this. The gang takeover narrative affects 3 different complexes. The first one is the Edge at Lowry. The second location is Whispering Pines, and the third is Aspen Grove, which is more commonly called Fitzsimmons Place. As you might have noticed on the map, these complexes are pretty far from one another, each several kilometers away. The fact that they're so distant raises an interesting question as to why these 3 in particular have supposedly been taken over. They aren't the only apartment buildings in this neighborhood, after all. One common thread is all 3 of these complexes are owned by a guy named Zev Baumgarten. After they were purchased in the intervening years, these properties would rack up dozens of complaints that were filed with the city. It also received a number of code violations. These issues persisted for years, well before the arrival of a large number of migrants in December of 2022. As the code violations and tenant complaints piled up, eventually the city of Aurora decided to step in regarding these 3 properties. Baumgarten was facing 81 charges and was scheduled to appear for a trial on August 27th, and then again on September 5th for another 24 charges related to vehicles. Baumgarten began to fight back by claiming in the media that the Venezuelan gang had taken over his properties and were preventing his team from performing regular maintenance at the building.
Wow. So what happened here was that a shitty landlord, a piece of shit landlord, was not taking care of their property, so much so to the point where it gets so run down that the state of Colorado and the city of Aurora has to jump in and start regulating and kicking out people because they're so terribly handled, and this is basically owned by a slumlord. And what does that slumlord do? Instead of fixing the apartments, they hire a PR firm, and that's where the Venezuelan gangs are taking over apartments suddenly came out of nowhere. That's crazy. That's actually crazy. And the fact that a left-leaning organization like TYT ate that up and ran with it is so fucked up. That is so fucked up. The least they could do is run an apology for that reporting. That's the least they could do. This is some shit I expect from Fox News. Fox News does that. I'm like, you know what? I expect that from them. TYT though? Nah. Just crazy. I can't believe TYT ran with that story like that. That's so fucked up. That actually makes me so angry.
Baumgarten told this gang takeover story to his lenders, which is how they decided to create a report. Let's go back to the TYT video for that.
Now, the video that we showed you earlier was taken later in August. So even before that incident occurred, there were already concerns about gang violence. There was already a law firm investigating it on behalf of the lender.
The first major issue with this report is that it's specifically about Whispering Pines, not the Edge at Lowry, which is where the viral video comes from. The video really conflates those 2 properties in an unhelpful way, including mistakenly listing one of the residents from the Edge at Lowry as being from Whispering Pines, and I think it demonstrates a general lack of familiarity with many of the elements of this story. But to look at the details of the report itself, it was put together by the law firm Perkins Coie. It's very clear that crimes have taken place, but it's difficult to parse from this report alone which ones were dealt with by police and which weren't, and which ones can be substantiated at all. Looking at the more obvious crimes, there was a case of assault in November 2023, but it's followed by this interesting line. We have no information on what investigative steps were launched or arrests were made in connection with with this violent and unprovoked attack. It seems like something they might have wanted to reach out to the police about, but for some reason they didn't. But that's kind of the whole point of this report. It's not meant to be a listing of definite crimes that have happened that the police have ignored. Rather, it's something presented asking the police to look into this without actually figuring out if the police have started looking into this or not. But the TYT video makes a much bolder claim about the validity of this report.
And the report was further confirmed by the Aurora Police Department, which is now denying that there's a problem of Venezuelan gang violence at this apartment complex.
The cops did not confirm the details of this report. The confirmation that's described in this video was actually done by local news, who had requested police reports from around the same time, specifically the report of a housekeeper being threatened. The most contentious claim from this report is about rent collection or extortion, and that's mentioned in the video like this.
The property has recorded footage of gang members knocking on doors without authorization or without any justification, attempting to collect rent from the tenants of Whispering Pines.
Even several weeks after this video has first went up, there is still no firm evidence that to any sort of large scale that this is happening. In this video, the only evidence that's really cited comes from the report.
I am genuinely so disgusted by this. I'm sorry. I know when they put out this report, it was going viral because people were like, wait, what the fuck? Like, this isn't true, da-da-da. But I didn't know it was this incorrect. This is bad. And listen, Anna claims she has a journalism degree, right? I have a journalism degree as well. We literally have to take a class on ethics of journalism and making sure that anything you put out into the ether as a journalist is substantiated and true. And if it's not, you walk it back and you take an apology as soon as you can so that the misinformation that you planted in people's heads doesn't stick. You apologize, you say you were wrong, you move on, which is why a news network like Fox is considered to be entertainment because they can't get sued. So many people have tried to sue them over spreading misinformation and disinformation, and they can't get sued because they are classified under entertainment, not journalism. That's why a lot of people don't know that. So when you're claiming that you're a journalist and you're this esteemed person that works at a leftist news station, but you're spreading this massive disinformation, misinformation that's really going to hurt the lives of so many immigrants that live in that area, quite literally putting their lives in danger, and you're doing that as a matter of fact on a leftist news station, shame. That is disgusting. That is abhorrent. Absolutely unacceptable. Point blank, period.
Oh my God. Please don't report the truth because it's going to paint migrants in a negative light. The migrants are the ones who are victimized by this. So if you care about migrants, if you care about immigrants, you should not want them to live under these conditions.
If you're pushing back against the demagoguing of immigrants, I just did that. That's how you do that, okay? But if you say, in order to push back against that, I'm just gonna pretend that no immigrant has ever committed a crime and that those gangs aren't here and they haven't taken over anything, you sound ridiculous.
Wait, I'm sorry. They said, not only are we not reporting this story wrong, which they were, if you say anything to us, you're basically saying that we're working against migrants. So fuck you. Don't even try to come at me for reporting this story completely wrong and botched. Y'all, am I the only one that's finding this absolutely insane? Like, you cannot be claiming that you're a reputable journalism source if you're making it. And listen, let me be very clear. You can make mistakes as a journalist. We are not perfect. We are human beings. Making mistakes as a journalist is okay. It fines. It happens to the best of us. I've made mistakes. I've made mistakes too, although I don't claim that I'm a journalist. I think being a journalist is a very esteemed title, and I don't believe I hold that because I don't work for any publication. I just work for myself. I deem myself as more of a political commentator, but that's a whole other conversation. But this is just insane because you're claiming that you're an esteemed journalist and you're saying, hey, but if you want to hold me accountable for reporting this news story completely wrong, as if I'm on Fox News, screw you, you're the one that's against immigrants, not me. And it's just like, that's just diabolical, in my opinion. That's absolutely diabolical because you can make mistakes as a journalist, but what they do is they go back and they correct their mistake. They make a correction. It's not the fact that we don't like the way you're reporting the story. You're reporting the story absolutely wrong. You're painting this narrative of Venezuelan gangs when there's no source of Venezuelan gangs actually being there. And that's very detrimental towards not just Venezuelan immigrants, but they're just not really comprehending that, you know? Okay, so let's do a recap. Slumlord isn't taking care of their apartments. Situation and environment in apartments gets so bad that the city of Aurora in Colorado State jumps in. Then this slumlord hires a PR firm. Magically, the story of Venezuelan gangs comes out saying that the Venezuelan gangs didn't allow them to take care of their apartments. But when in reality, there's absolutely no proof that it was Venezuelan gangs, and all of the crime that was happening had been happening for a very long time prior to any Spanish or Latin people moving into the apartment complexes. See, when we say TYT is crashing out, this is what we mean. This is what we mean. This is sloppy. This is sloppy and it's embarrassing. All right, let's see what Hassan has to say about this.
It's sad. It's sad to see like what has become of Anna Kasparian's commentary. I don't know why she's doing this. People will immediately say, "Oh, she's grifting. Oh, she's grifting." I think it's sadder if it's genuine, and I think it's genuine. Like I think she has like experienced a lot of ideological shifts that started off with like I think homelessness and crime, like leaning into crime panic stuff, and then moving on to the trans panic stuff. And now she's just doing this thing, like running defense for Trump's fascism. Like, that's crazy. I am proud of my unc, though, for standing up for what he believes. Let's take a look at what this clip looked like.
Because look, if we're just going to use fascist toward anyone we dislike, all right, then the word doesn't actually mean anything.
Okay, what do you want me to say, Anna?
Like, if you cannot call Trump a fascist, there is no reason to use the word. We should not learn about fascism in school. We should not learn about genocides. We should not learn about the Holocaust. We should not learn about like how we got to this point in history, because like that's it. Like he's fascist. Like, what do you mean? This motherfucker wants to do concentration camps, dude.
She was having this whole debate with Cenk, and she's like, you want to call Trump a fascist? Everyone calls everyone a fascist nowadays. The word doesn't have any meaning anymore. And it's like, sure, Trump has not rounded up people and put them in concentration camps and gassed them. Like, you can make that argument, but he does hold a lot of fascist views, and he does want to implement a lot of those fascist ideas that he has. So calling him a fascist is not a insane thing to say, right? It's really not. I mean, you can argue that Trump is definitely a fascist. I don't think that's out of the realm of normality here. He said a lot of fascist shit. And so for you to say, oh, the word fascism has lost its meaning because everyone's a fascist now. I mean, come on. We're not calling everyone a fascist now. People are calling Anna a fascist now. I think, you know what I think it is? I think she's deflecting. I think a lot of people on the left hate her. They're saying all this mean shit. They're saying, oh, she's a fascist. She's a grifter. And now she's like, you know what? Fuck you. You want to call me a fascist? Then that means that the meaning of the word has been lost, right? And then now she's like, oh, everyone wants to call Trump a fascist. That word doesn't even mean anything anymore. And it's kind of the same rhetoric that Cenk was using, but he was also saying, oh, all these people want to call me a fascist. All these people want to call me a grifter, blah, 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 blah. Like, they're really angry and they're mad at it. And it's like, well, yeah, people are calling you that because you're giving them a reason to call you that. Maybe stop being so Republican in your fucking reporting when it comes to certain stories, and people won't call you that. It's not that fucking hard.
If you don't consider Donald Trump to be a fascist, I don't know what to tell you. Like, what do you think is a fascist?
Now, you want me to say wannabe dictator?
Sure, you can say wannabe dictator, but I don't even think he wants to be a dictator.
Of course he does. That's what you do when you lose an election and you go, oh, I got a fake election.
He's right. Oh, God, I'm so unk-pilled right now. So, of course he does.
Electors, and I'd like to terminate the Constitution and bring out the tanks and use martial law against American citizens and shoot protesters. I mean, if that's not fascist, then I guess the word just shouldn't exist.
But was he able to do those things?
Oh, dude, sorry. Excuse me, officer. I know that, like, I went into a bank with a gun, okay? And I said, put the money in the bag, please. And then they put the money in the bag, but then on the way out of the bank, I actually slipped on a banana peel and fell. Technically, I didn't extract all of the dollars out of the bank. I am not a bank robber. That's fine. Please do not call me a bank robber. Like, what are we doing here?
Also, I just want to point out that Trump wanted to do a lot of things. His cabinet didn't let him do it. One great example that everyone knows about is January 6th. He wanted to not turn the election over to Joe Biden, and he created a whole entire coup. And if Mike Pence didn't go behind Donald Trump's back and say, no, I'm following the Constitution, I have to give this election to the next person, we don't know what would have happened that day because we didn't have any due process process is set up for if that didn't happen, because that concept is so insane. So sure, you can make the argument of, but did it happen? Sure, you can make that argument, but it's not a good one, because this time around, he's going to have a lot of extremist people in his cabinet. And it's not one of those situations where it's going to be like, oh, they're going to stand up against him. They're going to basically do whatever he wants them to do.
You were good guys. Let me do all of these things. Let me say that immigrants are poisoning the blood of our nation, a Nazi term that is only used in the past by Nazis, and then say, I'm going to ban Muslims, I'm going to do this and this and this to all the other ethnic groups, and then go, oh, I can't believe you called me a fascist. No, he is a fascist. I'm very happy to call him a fascist.
All right. There.
All right. All right, I'm not gonna get back into it.
Dude, oh God. I love this man. That's Unc, man. That's Unc. He went hard. I don't think Anna is pro-fascist. I think she's just become like more of a centrist with right-leaning associations as time has continued, due to a metric ton of criticism and feedback and backlash that she has received from the left. A lot of people's brains get fried when they divert even a little bit from like whatever the leftist progressive position is. I know Anna. I've known Anna for 20 years, okay? She got her entire life by the right, like nonstop doxing, death threats, all this, right? So when you're doing that for like 25 years, okay? When you're doing that for 20 plus years, and you're constantly getting bullied, and you feel like, you know, you can't even get support from the left, right? You can't even get like the support that you think you deserve in the left because you have disagreements with other people who are like prominently online, extremely online on the left, whatever. It just like fries your brain where you're like, what the am I doing this for? The difference is like you have to be an incredibly stubborn person to just go, I don't give a what people say. I'm still gonna for the things I'm advocating for.
I actually agree with Hassan on this. Like, you can be for the leftist cause and you can do so much for the leftist cause. You do one thing wrong and people attack you for your fucking life. It's actually true. It's happened to me multiple times. Most of the time it was false. Most of the time it was complete disinformation. But here's the thing. When you do those kinds of mistakes, you have to do some inner work and think to yourself, okay, did I really do something wrong or did I not do something wrong? And when you realize that you didn't do something wrong, you move on from it. But also, like, if you are wrong, because there are times that you are wrong and you could hurt a group of people, you listen to that group, you hear them out, and you change course. And I just think Anna lacks that. I think Anna really lacks that. I feel like when people were trying to call her out or trying to talk to her, I know many of my own mutuals who tried to speak to her in a very calm and just kind of like educational way, and she didn't want to talk to them at all, right? She didn't want to talk to them at all. I know Emma has invited her onto the Majority Report multiple times. She refuses to go on. So you're making all these mistakes, you're hurting all these groups of people, and you're unwilling to listen to how you could be better.
And I think that slowly but surely she got like crime pilled and people were like very upset with her over that. And then she got like transphobia pilled a little bit with like the birthing person stuff. And I think it's just like basically fried her brain, and it's sad to see, but it happens, you know? Can't imagine what a reasonable person would end up looking like to someone like that. Guys, I don't like, the only reason why I'm saying all this is because like I know where she's coming from. Like I don't agree with her, and she has attacked me consistently throughout the years, and my response always is like, I hope she's doing all right. I hope she's doing all right. You know, we have our disagreements. It is what it is. But like, you have to understand, she's in a very unique predicament. Okay, like there are not that many independent voices on the left, and this is what TYT was for a very long time, when that space was incredibly lonely. Okay, when that space was just lonely, and that's it. I think it like cooked her a little bit. I think it fried her a little bit. What ends up happening is like slowly but surely, you just let the reactionary part of your brain that believes certain nonsensical positions like take over.
Listen, I said my piece about this topic. I think it's gotten to a point where she's just not a leftist anymore. And like I said, that's fine. That's okay if that's your prerogative, but it's just own it and keep it moving. I will always give TYT, Cenk, and Anna credit because they were one of the first ones in the game. They did pave the road for a lot of people like myself. I mean, there was a point in time where I really looked up to Anna. Like, I really wanted to be someone like her, someone so successful on a leftist media. But, you know, like Hassan Hassan said, I think everything started frying her brain. And I get it, because it's happened to me too. Obviously, it happened to me on a much smaller scale, but it's happened to me too. And it's very easy to just become bitter. And I think Hassan approached this in a very empathetic way, because he didn't owe Anna shit. Anna continuously talks shit about him. Honestly, any video I've seen her talk about Hassan has been her talking shit about him, or how much money he makes, and etc. So I think he definitely took the high road with this response, and I really do admire him for that. I think it takes a lot of emotional maturity to do that. But as far as Anna goes, I just think the brain is fried.
So I feel like it's come to a point where we now have a lot more clarity about the TYT situation, specifically their right-wing pivot. And I now know where this disconnect is specifically coming from between them and us. And I debated about whether or not to even talk about this again, because I don't want people to think that I'm trying to rehash drama. But in my mind, this isn't just about drama any longer. To TYT, they view this as a competition to maintain hegemony in this space, because Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian presumably feel as if they've been usurped in some ways by the likes of Hassan Piker, as well as Sam Cedar and Emma Vigeland. And they kind of have. I mean, Majority Report is just a better, more principled version of TYT.
Absolutely. And I will say this. When I first started content creating, I had this issue where I would compare myself to other leftist content creators. And I would say, oh my God, this person's doing so much better than me. Oh my God, this person's getting more views than me. Oh my God, I have to do better. But you grow and you realize that the reasons why we started these platforms was so that we can educate the masses on the truth of things, right? Because a lot of people are misinformed in America. The moment you start looking at this as a competition, as, oh, David Dole is my competition, Lance is my competition, Mike from The Humanist is my competition, everyone's my competition, I need to do better, that's when you start fucking up. And you don't just start fucking up for yourself, you start fucking up for the masses too, because then you turn it into a war between everyone. And that's a part of the issue with the left. We eat each other up all the time. And right now, Cenk and Anna are eating everyone up alive. Majority Report used to be a part of TYT. They're not a part of TYT anymore. Mike left when all the transphobic shit happened. They also had another trans contributor named Ben. She also left as well. So they've lost a lot of people on their side. And that's not how you propel the leftist movement. That's how you shit on it, quite frankly.
What's happening here is three things. We're seeing hubris, a politics of self-grievance, and mixed messaging from the network. And that's what's creating this disconnect between them and us. So first and foremost, let's talk about the mixed messages, because that is the lowest common denominator that's driving all of this drama, if you want to call it that. Because TYT, they brand themselves as home of progressives, yet repeatedly they undermine that branding with centrist and even right-wing counter-messaging. And when people call it out, he'll respond by dismissing their criticism and reasserting himself as the true arbiter of truth on the left, but he never actually addresses the substance of our claims, and he refuses to reconcile the mixed messaging that we're all seeing. For example, when Anna Kasparian went on Jillian Michaels' show, the thumbnail plays up her right-wing pivot and asks if she's leaving the left, and it even says, you know, why I left the left in a quote.
This is so clickbait, y'all. So I'm starting to do more YouTube now, and I'm starting to realize that the more clickbait your title and your pick is, you know, the cover photo is, the more clicks you're gonna get. This says, why I left the left. Anna Kasparian blasts, quote, wokeism. Is she ditching the left, question mark. So you're going on shows that are clearly catered to Republicans. You're playing into this whole Republican ideology that you're leaving the left and you're leaving wokeism and blah, blah, blah. And then you're going back on TYT, the quote, home of the progressives, to continue reporting. Do you understand why that would create a lot of friction in the community? It's one of those things where, like, you're refusing to go on the Majority Report. You're refusing to have conversations with people who you should consider your colleagues in the same realm of work that you do. But you're going on other channels with the cover photo, why I left the left, whilst you continue to get your paycheck and your day job from a very left-leaning news network. Brother, ew, what are you doing? What the fuck are you doing, bro?
But to be fair, Anna can't control the thumbnails and the framing on other people's channels. But I mean, these shows are playing up that narrative for a reason. And while she's lead into it more than Cenk, he's continuing to deny it and feigns outrage whenever he's called out for it. But Cenk has at times leaned into it and he's played footsie with the right, but he still wants to maintain dominance over the leftist space when he's very clearly moving away from that. For example, he tweeted, I've been trying to figure out about why I'm more optimistic now than I was before the election. Even though I was so against the guy that won, I know now MAGA is not my mortal enemy, and neither is the extreme left. My mortal enemy is the establishment, and they have been defeated. Sure, because the electoral victory of a billionaire fascist who's stacking his cabinet full of neocons and other billionaires is certainly evidence that the establishment has been defeated.
I don't like this whole idea of like, oh, you know what? I own the leftist space. I am the king of all of leftist space. Because first of all, there's room for everyone. There is room for literally everyone. I remember when I first started becoming a content creator, I was so self-conscious of other leftist content creators, especially if they're Middle Eastern, because I felt like there was a competition. There's only room for one of us in the room. And I talked to my therapist, and my therapist was like, no, Ariana, there's room for everyone and more. And that really changed my perspective, because there is room for everyone and more. There's room for everyone. All of us can have a space here. And not one of us is the true leader of the left. You want to talk about that? I do think Hassan is the most successful person on the left. Of course, 100% when it comes to left content creation and political commentary. But we all have a space. I don't agree with this whole I'm the leader. No, I'm the leader. No, I'm the true real one. Like, who gives a fuck? Who cares? We all have the same goal, I think, outside of Anna and Chang, and we all do the same thing, right? We all want to spread the same ideologies, the same beliefs. Like, there doesn't have to be a one true fucking warrior. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. Okay, we're not fucking dictators. We're political commentators on YouTube. Like, chill. This is all sad. I think someone in the chat had a really great point. Leftists have an uphill battle that we have to climb just as leftist creators, right? There's not as much money in our field. I mean, in order to make a, YouTube channel that's as successful as TYT or Majority Report, it takes years. It takes thousands of dollars. I mean, I'm literally trying to start my YouTube channel, and this shit is hard. Like, it's hard to get visibility. It's hard to put your name out there. And it's one of those things where this life is already hard enough. You get scrutinized by the public, you get scrutinized by your peers, and then the last thing you need is fucking infighting drama between different YouTube channels. You know what I mean? And also, TYT was one of the only, channels that actually hired leftist contributors, paid for them. And it's really sad because that door is now closed towards a lot of people who want to maybe be a contributor or start off as contributors or whatever. Now TYT has a really bad name to them. You know what I mean? And you kind of look like a weirdo if you join them. Not talking about you, Josh. Love you. And Francesca. There are some great people at TYT. I don't want to blame Anna and Jinx, ignorance on them. But it's just one of those things where it's like they're making the playing field a lot harder. They're causing a lot of drama. They're causing a lot of chaos. And yeah, it makes for great views, I guess. Sure. But this is exactly why we are losing in all different kinds of battles, like, federal, local, statewide. Leftist people, like, we are losing. Whether you're left, whether you're liberal, whether you're centrist Democrat, we're losing. We lost all of it, babe. Like, we lost the House, we lost the Senate, we lost the fucking presidency. We lost a lot of shit this election cycle. And I think that this type of infighting is one of the reasons why, you know what I mean? And I try my best not to engage with it as a creator. Like, I try my best not to insert myself in these sorts of things, but I also feel like there needs to be leftist creators that call this out for what it is, right? Like, we need to call the drama out for what it is. We need to call whatever you want to call it. You can call it a grift. I personally don't think Anna is grifting. I think that Anna truly believes what she's saying. But what does bother me is that Anna is still taking checks from TYT, which is a progressive news station, while simultaneously going on all of these Republican, libertarian type centrist shows with the title, oh, why I left the left, oh, this, that, and the third. Listen, you're either about the movement or you're not. And in my opinion, if you're going on all of these podcast shows for clout chasing with the title, why I left the left, you are not for the movement. You're actually hurting the movement way more than you think you are. I think maybe you can take a break. Maybe you could talk to a therapist. Maybe you can exit yourself and take a 1 month sabbatical. I don't know. Come back and really think about what you want to do. But whatever you're doing right now, it's not working. You're making a lot of people hate you. You're causing a lot of distress between a lot of channels. And it's just honestly not fair because we all have one goal and you have this totally distorted vision of what you want to do, which is completely separate from all of our goals. Because if you look at Mike, you look at Majority Report, Surfs, all of us, we're all, Matt Binder, we're all trying to push and pass the same ideas and the same rhetoric. You are claiming that you are, but then you're turning your back and doing X, Y, and Z, like all this weird double back shit. Like, listen, you're either a leftist or you're not. If you're continuously going on all these podcasts where the title is Why I Left the Left, then you're not a leftist. You left the left. And if you did leave the left, you should probably think about what your next move is. Are you going to start a Substack? Are you going to start your own channel? Are you going to go off and become independent? Are you going to go into somewhere like Daily News or, I don't know, whatever, Fox News? Because, honey, you try to keep telling everyone and convincing everyone that you're progressive. We all know that you're not, because if you were, you would never give Piers Morgan the time of the day with some fucking shitty title, Why I Left the Left. There's a lot of click in it. There's a lot of conversation. There's a lot of clout that comes with it. I get it. Okay, I get it. I really do. But at some point, it's just not worth it. You're really hurting the fucking movement in its totality. So it's just, this whole thing is just so pathetic. I mean, it's really pathetic. And I just feel like at some point, Anna and Cenk, although I do think Anna is more far gone than Cenk is, I think they both really need to sit down and do some reflecting and think like, hey, where do I want the future of my channel, the future of my platform, and the future of my brand to go? Because currently you're not a left-leaning person. All right, thank you for watching my YouTube channel. My name is Aurora Jasmine. Please make sure you like, subscribe, comment for more videos like this. I post very regularly on this channel, and we're so close to hitting 10,000 subscribers, so please subscribe. I love you so much. All right, see you next time.